Let's do it.
Well, it is Alexandra Merz back again. Now she goes by Tesla Boomer Mama, but I'm going to rename her today. I'm going to rename you, Alexandra. It's going to be Tesla Mama Grizzly. And you are the mama grizzly bear who is protecting not your cub, but your favorite company and its leader, Elon Musk. So I think that's your new handle. I think we should change it.
Thank you very much. That's very cute. Well, I mean, I am very passionate about Tesla, and I just feel we are getting so much crap. And I mean, it's so much crap over the last 2-3 years that it's important to speak out about it. And as you know, I wrote Sunday an article about, what we got from certain senators, what we're getting legally again, because can you believe it? They filed 3 more lawsuits on the last day before we left Delaware. I mean, it just never ends. It just never ends.
Yeah, and so just for those of you who are new or those of you who haven't been paying attention, Alexandra popped into the kind of the world of Tesla maniacs. Oh, did I say that out loud? The Tesla world with a fight to get the appropriate Moody's rating on the credit for Tesla. You also used to put together a daily reporting on how the various various funds, I guess you would say, were trading Tesla to give some idea of who was selling, who was buying. Then you became even more famous when you decided to help out with Elon's compensation plan. And that went extremely well up to the point where that's all we can do until Judge McCormick makes her final decision. And then last week, you picked up the pen, or I guess it's no longer, you have to be a metaphorical pen. You got your computer pad out again and started writing a response to some Senator Warren, who's always had it in. Pocahontas has always had it in for Tesla and for Elon, and she attacked again, making all kinds of spurious claims about the way that the different companies do business with one another. And I think it's a perfectly legitimate issue for us as shareholders to talk about, but for her to talk about it. So anyway, you had an answer for that. And then this weekend, you put together an entire list of all the ways that the feds and the state governments, I didn't read the entire thing. I have to be honest with you. So
it's not actually that long, but don't worry, I can sum it up for you.
Okay.
But it's, how shall I say it? It's a never-ending story, but it's also a lot of clickbait, right? As soon as Elon or Tesla is in the title, newspapers magazine get a lot of views, and that's what Senator Warren wants as well. She is she's actually up for re-election in November, so she needs to be known for the very progressive, anti-capitalistic, wonderful senator she is, and what better target than Elon Musk, right, in that world. So some of it I take seriously, some of it I don't. She started this whole crap, I'm sorry to speak like that, in December 2021, when she wrote a first letter to Elon saying he should pay his taxes, because remember, he didn't cash in any of his options, so while you don't cash in your shares, you don't pay taxes on it because it's unrealized profit, right? And then he did. Remember how everybody was screaming when he did, but there you go. Then she started a year later.
And Alexandra, she never made a claim that he failed to pay taxes that were appropriately earned. She's wanting him, I guess, to pay taxes.
I mean,
just because, let me just send some money off to the government.
Because it brings her to certain TV shows who will, applaud her. It brings her into the newspaper. It's actually such a small circle. And if ever you read my article, again, it's not long, but I put in the notes, actually, the journalists she cites and recites. Now, let me tell you what I think happens here. I think actually that 3 senators teamed together. This is by pure speculation. I don't know whether this is true, but I have one proof that may actually show that I'm on the right path, which is her co-senator from Massachusetts, which is Senator Markey, and Senator Blumenthal, from Connecticut, not far away from Massachusetts. So I think the three of them have a beef with Tesla and Elon. So there you go. Why do I know that? Because Blumenthal and Markey started actually earlier. They started in April 2021, writing letters to NASDA, writing letters to the public, doing a letter to the FTC, Lisa Khan, then I think that was August 2021. And they kept the pressure on all through 21 and 22. Then happened what happened, meaning Elon bought Twitter in October 2022. That made the temperature rise. And there, it wasn't just enough being Blumenthal and Markey. There, they enrolled Elizabeth Warren. And why do I know that? Because I'm sorry, I can't believe how dumb these staffers, because it can't be her herself, are. The first letter sent to Tesla's chair, Dr. Robin Denholm, of December 22, you can still download from the warren.senate.gov website. When you download it, you see the author of that letter was no other than Senator Blumenthal. So she didn't even write that letter herself, right? So there you see how it was all coordinated, I call it. I don't want to say conspired, but at least coordinated. Then they kept on sending letters. Then she wrote a letter to the SEC. Then they kept on sending letters. Then she wrote another letter to the SEC. And now she wrote another letter. And I just had it. When that letter came on August 8th of all days, I just thought, good lady, what's your beef, right? This is not your company. As far as I know, you're not a shareholder. As far as I know, we're not in Massachusetts and you're not in Texas. So what is this all about? Now, you also have to understand, that's what I said earlier, we have new lawsuits coming. So we're having that Tornetta law case and Judge McCormick, who has another beef. So they should actually, I think they should create a club, the Elon Beef Club. So after the post-trial opinion came out in the Tornetta case in January, in February, Tornetta's lawyers brought this ridiculous claim for 29.4 million shares. That woke up quite a few attorneys thinking, oh my God, if they're so brave asking for so much, maybe I could be so brave as well and find something. Well, we have now a Khalid versus the board members that was filed in April. We have a Perry versus the board members that was filed in May. We have two cases from a certain Donald Ball, who actually has, if I remember right, 29,000 Tesla shares. So I don't understand the man, but there you go. He has two claims against Tesla that he filed beginning of June, and then the two cases that were filed on the day of the shareholder meeting. So it couldn't have been a day later, because the day later we were gone to Texas, so that you can't file in Delaware now anymore. Come two more, one being the Cleveland Bakers and Teamsters Pension Fund. Okay. There you go. So that's another Elon hater thingy. And wait for it, Employee Retirement System of Rhode Island.
Ah, yes.
Same little corner, right? Don't we all get together? Yep. So in her last letter on August 8th, she cites again all these journalists. All this. Laura Kolotny wrote this and Laura Kolotny wrote that, blah, 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 blah. I mean, 10 pages like that. But she cites one thing even more than Laura Kolotny, which is the Cleveland Bakers and Teamsters case. So she had that case. Well, not she. There's a staffer behind it, and obviously a legal staffer, because whatever you look for, both the Senator Blumenthal and Markey stuff and her stuff, it all has the same tone. It has all the same type of footnotes. I mean, there's somebody who really works on this case. And so that somebody took all these quotes from the Cleveland Bakers and Teamsters, which so far is just a filed motion, right? It's not at all, it's a claim. There's no judge who has approved this or whatsoever, but the staffer behind it uses all that to make these horrendous claims. So anyway, so I had it. And you're right, one of my followers said you should reply to her. And I said, that's actually a good idea. Set up that letter. We're already way past 2,500 signers in less than 2.5 days. And then once I did that, I thought, you know what, this is just enough. Somebody has to line up everything that happened since Elon bought Tesla and even Twitter, and even shortly before, because it's really been, brewing to finally explode. And so I sat down and wrote, what I just told you, that what's happening both on the senator side and on the judicial side. And I added to that as well the certain lawfare, I call it now lawfare, I didn't call it in the article, but the government agencies that the day Elon bought Twitter started to get into motion again. So you have to understand, and you certainly recall, how President Biden then in November, so October was the purchase, in November said that all actions of Elon in all countries have to be investigated. Well, he found friends at the DOJ, who now investigates Tesla, at the Federal Trade Commission that demanded documents from X. There was the DOJ also suing SpaceX for not hiring refugees. Remember that one? We have the Equal Opportunity, I don't know what anymore, that's investigating Tesla. We have the SEC that investigates the Twitter purchase. Now, the SEC investigating the Twitter purchase obviously was once Senator Warren told the SEC to investigate the Twitter purchase. You're just there, you're just like, what, from all sides. And then some of my followers reminded me there was also this canceled Starlink contract, remember that? I mean, there were prepayments and engagements and whatever, and then suddenly, for whatever obvious reason, it was all canceled. So I just find it incredible how this is all coordinated. And as a Tesla shareholder, I find it despicable.
Yeah. And so what in the world have you thought about what they actually want to accomplish? Are they trying to destroy a company or companies wouldn't be a great look for even a liberal senator.
I don't think they go that far. I think what they want is publicity. I have the clear feeling that Blumenthal has a sponsor behind him that pushes him to do this, because it's just so ridiculous. Every letter is so ridiculous. It is too often. He just wishes to bring the subject to the front line. I have no proof that it's Dano Doubt, but one thing I can tell you is, because it's all about full self-driving for Blumenthal, but one thing I can tell you about Dano Doubt was that when we had that first Twitter space, I asked him how much money he has spent on making sure the public understands how bad Tesla full self-driving is. And he said that at that moment, 10 million. And I thought, okay, exactly. And that was a good year ago. I mean, this is not recent, because he's continued spending money. And I mean, I know he has this British law firm that has now one of the partners constantly here in Santa Barbara working with him, and there's some junior stuff around as well, and that costs money. I get it, but I mean, not 10 million. There's no way you get 10 million for that. So I've been constantly thinking, where is he throwing 10 million? Because you have to be. And on top of it, he looks like a stingy old man, sorry to say so, but maybe I'm wrong. I shouldn't say that. But anyway, so I've been wondering where this goes, and I have no proof whatsoever. Let's make this clear, but that could be one way, right? He could have helped, because remember, he was running as a Democrat senator in California. You had the option to vote for him in 2022, Randy. Okay, you don't seem very informed about the topic, but anyway, not did many other people. But anyway, so I mean, and I think he used that tool actually very cleverly, because his single theme in that run was Tesla's full self-drive, and that probably helped him to deduct a lot of those expenses from his campaign, right? I mean, again, I don't even want to go there, but how in the world can you throw $10 million out? And maybe that is one way to do it. Again, I don't know. I don't want to be the bad girl behind this conspiracy theory. It may only be one. But so the Blumenthal stuff, I don't even take seriously, but there we are. The Senator Warren stuff is more important in the public eye, because she is just much more vocal, gets much more airtime, and these are subjects that appeal to her electorate. And I think that's what she's after, to have airtime on subjects where she can be distinguished. And you got to give it to her. Everybody in our universe knows she did those letters. So she had, the purpose is fulfilled, if that was the purpose. Now, if you read them in detail, they're not just claiming that they're screaming, they're really argumenting as if they're in a legal battle. If lots of footnotes, and this is my source, and this is the date it was published, and all that. So it's very meticulously done. That's why I'm saying it is a staffer that clearly has legal expertise, because nobody that has not done law studies would write like that, right? But that's why I think it's important we reply, and we reply in a very uneducated manner, in a very normal people manner, so that they understand that this is not just something where they can have it their way.
Yeah, we actually read your whole response yesterday morning, I believe it was on the show, as well as ଗ୍𝐸𝐿's version.
Oh, that was funny, right? Yeah.
So
yeah. The fun version of 𝐸𝐿 was really funny.
Yeah, that was worth the humor alone. So normally one starts to think about the other possible players, other people that have an oar in the water, other people that have a stake in the game. We would be talking about the GMs, the unions. We could be talking about people in the oil business, whether that's at the at the pumping level, or whether that's at the gas station level. We could talk about just Democrats in general who are angry about all the opportunity that Elon now has as a voice, as a
X is really, they're pissed off about X. Yeah, I can get to that.
So
and you saw that this morning with Thierry Breton, right? With that letter.
Yes, I'd love for you to get into that one. So I haven't talked about that on the program yet, but we had the European Union today, after Elon has talked about how the Europeans and the Brits are already, it's already too late. Freedom of speech is over. They are running a Gestapo throughout Europe, and they get to decide what is misinformation and what's not. Canada has been gone for a very long time. Just ask Peterson. I'm sure he'll be happy to tell you how much freedom he has up in Canada. And we're worried here because we saw what happened with the Biden administration with their freedom of, what was that? What was it called? Their disinformation department. They had a department that they were going to set up.
It didn't last long, but they tried.
But they got caught, and if they didn't get caught, and besides that, there was articles just today, editorials just today, saying that they've just done an end around, and they're doing it anyway, using the FBI, using the Homeland Security Department to already say, and this is documented, easily seen. They're sending out their people again to establish relationships with social media to make sure that they understand what is and what isn't coming from foreign governments in order to interfere in American affairs. So talk to me about this letter from the EU was like, it was like,
let me phrase that, because it is just incredible. I mean, that I left Europe at that moment crying. I mean, thank you, by the way, for listening to me for that hour. Lots of people watched that. It was a great show. Thank you very much. But I mean, 10 years later, I could not be more happy to be in the United States and now a citizen. But I am offended, really personally offended, by this patronizing, unelected Brussels dinosaur, because that's what he is, Thierry Breton. Thierry Breton tried to have a career as a French politician and failed, miserably failed, right? And then by pity got sent to Brussels. That's where they stack them when there's nothing better to do. They're well paid, they're well maintained, well entertained, all fees paid by the princess. It is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. What's happening in Europe. So he's unelected. He's sitting there playing king, if you want to, patronizing the world on how they want to see the truth, their truth. I've done a lot of work into Klaus Schwab and this whole bubble, and Brussels is very, very implicated there. And so he wrote this morning this patronizing letter to Elon. Now, the first sentence is, like you have shown in the United Kingdom. Now, let me tell you something, Thierry Breton, you're already unjustifiably in charge of the European Union, but you're not in charge of the United Kingdom, right? There was Brexit, if you recall. I can give you history lessons on that one. It's just, I mean, to start the letter with that was already disqualifying, but there you go. And then explaining that today is going to be the interview of former President Trump on X by Elon, and that he is recalling him in paragraphs and paragraphs how the free speech has to be organized to be acceptable to these unelected patronizing bureaucrats in Brussels. I mean, the thing should be framed, because I could just see how he was for the whole weekend doing this with his staffers and how they were proud of every line they put out there. I mean, it's just incredible. Anyway, so there it was. And then Elon, so it was posted by Thierry Breton. So it's not as if Elon published something that he had received himself. No, Thierry Breton put this out there, posted it under his governmental official X account. And then Elon replied with one word and one word only, which was a beautiful word, which was bonjour. And now you have to understand, me as a French speaker, I was laughing. My husband was laughing. We were laughing here like kids. It was just perfect, this bonjour. But then the other thing was that how should we now pronounce it? Shall we pronounce it with a heavy American accent and say bonjour, or shall we give it a little bit of a sad feeling, bonjour? Or, but in any way, we just had a ball running with the bonjour, because I can just see Thierry Breton's head exploding in Brussels, because that's the last thing he expected. And actually, in one word, this synthesizes the arrogance of the French, the arrogance of the European Union. The fact that Elon did not reply factually and give it any credit, not worthy of any more word, and then just gave him the bonjour. He could have probably put ça va at the end, which is like, how are you today? But not even that. He just didn't give him any more time of his day. Just bonjour, exclamation mark. That was it. I just loved it. I just loved it. And these bureaucrats in Brussels have to understand, and I really hope the American people understand this as well. There is something to freedom of speech. You may not always hear what you want to, but you can say what you want to.
Yes. So I'm waiting. I'm really waiting for the letter to go out to ABC when they have the debate here in a couple of weeks. I'm waiting for the letters to go out to CNN.
Don't hold your breath, Randy, because at your age you shouldn't anymore wait too much holding your breath.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any letters going out to anybody else warning them in advance. I mean,
no, but I mean, do understand that all these people know what they're supposed to do and say, right? Come on, that they, just imagine in what bubble you have to live to feel yourself entitled to write this. Yeah. It's like
I'm going to do the last thing that governments are supposed to do. I'm going to send you a warning in advance. I'm not even going to wait until afterwards and send you something that says you made a mistake. No, I'm going to send you something in advance to chill your speech. This is what governments are not supposed to do, is to chill speech.
And then very adequately, we are, of course, for freedom of speech. And then, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Why are you writing the letter if you want freedom of... grotesque, I can tell you.
Yes. So are you planning to...
So here I am. No, wait. So here I am. This is my little thing that I got when I had my oath. It's even closer to my heart today.
Absolutely right. So is there an answer to all of this? Is there, other than voting these people out of office? I mean, for those of you...
He can't even be voted. He's unelected.
Well, yes, I understand the EU. Yes. In fact, this business in the EU, in Venezuela, I would say in Canada, even Australia, these English-speaking countries who have large populations of people that are probably on X, this is chilling. It's the kind of thing that people of good faith who believe in freedom should be completely outraged by, but somehow, to your point in the green room before we went on, there seems to be this politeness, this like, well, you know, the government probably shouldn't go out and tell them in advance, and the government probably shouldn't be creating an atmosphere that would chill the speech of anybody. The government probably shouldn't be, you know, pushing back on conservatives more than they're pushing back on liberals. All those things probably shouldn't be happening, but, you know, pull up a chair, let's have dinner and watch the movies.
Which is, I mean, I can't understand it. I feel very strong about my first vote as a US citizen this year in November, and I've made up my mind for the last 8 years. I know what I'm going to do, and I said so publicly. But I just can't understand both Republicans and Democrats who don't wake up at these crucial moments, right? When you hear something like that, well, read the letter, think twice. Is that the type of government you want? Is this the surveillance of free speech you want? And, you know, study history. I know it's, you know, everybody's busy and has other things to do, but there are moments in life where you should find parallels in the past, and you don't want to go there. You don't want these things to repeat. And so for me, you know, there's only one choice. I don't understand the different choices, but there you go. It's
Alexandra, I am so old that I lived history. And
but I'm not admitting it.
when I was at UCLA between 1966, actually, I guess 67 is when I first started going to UCLA. So between 67 and 75, when I graduated the law school, there were all kinds of protests on campus during those years. You might remember reading about that in your history.
I was 3 years old in 69, but I heard long about it.
So there was all kinds of protests, and they were definitely protesting the Vietnam War. But basically, it all started from freedom of speech.
Yeah.
It was all about free speech. And who was yelling and screaming that they didn't think they were getting freedom of speech? It was the left. And they were claiming that the powerful on the right were the ones depriving them of freedom of speech. I could make the argument that they weren't being deprived at all, because there was plenty of brochures being handed out and people speaking, and nobody was coming into their meetings and screaming and shouting and trying to shout down the speakers at any of their events that I can remember. And I was there for a total of 6 years. So, and it wasn't just UCLA, of course, it was all across the country. So all of a sudden, you know, 20 or 40, 50, 705,000 years later, a really long time later, now we have the left who's trying to stop free speech as opposed to promote it. So history reading would be helpful.
I can tell you one thing. I had, when I did my baccalaureate, my high school degree in Germany, you have to select a major or two. And so my 2 majors were English and math. And in the English major class, so that meant you had 5-6 hours intensive English per week. We had a very progressive left-leaning teacher who I'm still in contact with. Actually, it's funny because he sent me a card a couple of days ago, and a nice gentleman who now must be
older than me,
in his 90s. Yeah, really quite old now. Older than you, my gosh. Sorry, Randy. Anyway, so in that English class, the first book that I ever read in English, because when you study a language, right, you don't start with books, you start with vocabulary, short stories, and whatever, newspaper articles. But the first book we had to read was 1984 by George Orwell. And so while he was very progressive, and we had a lot of discussion about that, because this was it's a book actually in terms of vocabulary that's quite easy to understand. It's not, Orwell was writing much more complicated books in terms of language skills than 1984. But the discussion then, so we're all 18, 19-year-old, 17, 18, 19-year-old students, this progressive teacher, this could have gone the wrong way. Yet then and there, we all decided that's not a society we want to merge to, right?
Yeah, there was kind of an agreement. There was kind of an agreement.
And here we are. Can you believe this?
It is really quite interesting to have lived long enough to see it completely switch around. So, yeah, I am not here. This channel is not in the business of trying to promote Mr. Trump. We're not in the business of, doing politics. What we're in the business of doing is agree with Elon Musk that freedom of speech is the pinnacle. It is the first of the Bill of Rights. It is.
If we lose that, we lose everything.
Everything else goes. Everything
Exactly.
else goes with it. And people that are not understanding that, people that are not willing to at least vote for that, as I posted today, I'm gonna put it right here on the channel too. I said, if you're white and you don't vote for Trump, you're no longer white.
You're not allowed to say that, right, Neil? The other way
Wait a
around.
minute. Why can't I say that?
Yes, you
They
can.
said it about blacks. They said it about.
Well, the people that are offended should ask themselves, if they're offended about that, does that mean that they don't want freedom of speech, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can be offended, but can I say it? Am I allowed? Yeah. Will I be canceled? Will I be jailed? Will the English send out a subpoena across the pond and try to, extradite me from the United States to go serve time in one of their jails? Man, they must be bored to death and have lots of room in those jails because they want to start subpoenaing Americans for posting things about them on social media. I don't know where it ends, Alexandra.
Yeah. I know, I agree with you. And we'll see what happens in November. And I think it is really a crucial vote. I know everybody tells that every 4 years, but I think we're really getting to the point where people have to understand that more we are getting to a state where government, and even worse, deep state unelected officials, because that's the one that I really get bothered with.
Right.
It's one thing if you're elected. If
Right.
there's a majority electing somebody, well, be it, right? That's how we live. That's
And then
democracy.
we'll get rid
right?
of them next time. Yeah.
But if we are at the level of unelected people having these sorts of ideas, that's where really it gets scary to me.
Alexandra, Tesla Mama Grizzly. Thank you for coming on again.
Always
by the way, what do you think is going to happen this week in the markets? I mean, we got so much hitting this week, so many things hit. CPI, PPI, small business, everybody's reporting this week. I've never seen the list of the number of reports.
It is a long number. You do know that I don't follow the stock market at all on a daily basis, which is funny because I decided that in December 2022.
Oh, wow.
When really the stock was at its lowest, I told myself, do I really want to, spend time worrying, being, unhappy about it? What else? Can I ever recuperate the time I spent so senselessly? And then I decided I don't. So while I do know obviously the big lines, but I know we're below 200 still, but it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. I think the Fed is too late already. So I hope they're going to move sooner or later.
So you think we're in recession now?
Oh yeah, I think we actually are. And just as an anecdotal thing, the few things I do in Santa Barbara is getting my nails done. Here I am, my hair done, and typical woman stuff. All of these salons are in recession mode. You have no idea. You get appointments easily. The prices have gone down. So I know this is only anecdotal, but we're in Santa Barbara, which is very busy in the summer with lots of tourists and all that, and yet they're all complaining.
That is an interesting anecdotal situation because the way I've been characterizing it and the way Bank of America characterized it today is that we have two economies, and the people less than $100,000 a year are really suffering and hurting. The people above $100,000 a year, no problem. They still got plenty of money. You're talking about Santa Barbara, and you're saying in Santa Barbara, people are starting to feel what if the Santa Barbara folks are beginning to cut back.
Clearly.
This would not be good.
Yeah, and clear, it's a clear sign, I can tell you, because I'm usually always late to take my appointments and have to take what's left. I certainly have choice everywhere, and it's astonishing how the consumer economy feels it already now. But people have been overspending. They've been traveling like no tomorrow, and it's just it's normal that it was happening. And at the same time, real estate remains so expensive and mortgage is so expensive. So something has to give in, and I hope it's the Fed.
Yeah, it looks like they will. All right, Alexandra, thanks you so much for coming on board. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks a lot, Randy.